endocrine system, diabetes mellitus. Okay, insulin. Sorry, insulin from the insulin. So till now we have discussed about the. Let's summarize the topic that we have discussed under the topic insulin. So we have discussed about the introduction of the insulin, about the brief anatomy of the insulin, mechanism, physiology of the mechanism, secretion of the insulin, mechanism of action of the insulin, physiological effects of the insulin, and the different types of the insulin preparations like short acting, rapid acting, short acting, and this intermediate acting and long acting. Also, we have discussed about the delivery system, drug delivery system, the insulin delivery system. Okay, and today we will continue our topic. So, indications of the insulin. What are the indications of the insulin? As we know that the insulin are used for the treatment of the diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. Other than the diabetes mellitus, they are also used for the other diseases also. But the most common indication of the insulin is the diabetes mellitus. But what type of the diabetes mellitus? Okay, so we know that there are two types of the diabetes mellitus: type 1 diabetes mellitus and type 2 diabetes mellitus. In type 1 diabetes mellitus, so first of all, let's understand what is the pathophysiology of the type 1 diabetes mellitus. The pathophysiology of the type 1 diabetes mellitus is the pancreatic because of the autoimmunity. Because of the autoimmunity, it is the autoimmunity. Pancreatic beta cells completely destroyed. Islets of the Langerhans, the beta cells or the pancreas which are present over in the islets of the Langerhans, which are destroyed completely. So the insulin is not able to secrete from the pancreatic beta cell. So once the insulin is not able to secrete from the pancreatic beta cell in the healthy person, then the patient becomes the person becomes the patient there. Okay. So what will happen? So insulin need to be given exogenously. Insulin need to be given exogenously. So the number one indication of the type 1 insulin is the type 1 diabetes mellitus. Type 1 diabetes mellitus. Okay. And in type 2 diabetes mellitus, the pathophysiology of the type 2 diabetes mellitus is the insulin resistance. What does that mean? The insulin which is secreted from the pancreatic, insulin are secreted from the pancreatic beta cells. Okay, pancreatic beta cells. Okay, but they are not able to utilized by the peripheral tissues. What are the peripheral tissues? We can say that like the muscles, adipose tissues, and the liver. They are not utilized by them. So effect of the insulin will be inhibited. Effect of the insulin will be inhibited. That happens in the type 2 diabetes mellitus. So basically, in type 2 diabetes mellitus, the drug given are the type 2 diabetes mellitus. The number one drug, the drug of choice is the oral anti-diabetic drug. Oral anti-diabetic drug. Okay, but when the oral anti-diabetic drugs are given for the longer duration, but despite of that, also if the blood glucose level is not controlled in type 2 diabetes mellitus, the ultimate treatment will be the insulin again here. So in type 1 diabetes mellitus, okay, insulin is given because pancreatic beta cells are not able to secrete the insulin. So exogenously insulin is given. So the drug of choice for the type 1 diabetes mellitus is the insulin. Where in type 2 diabetes mellitus, oral hypoglycemic agent or the anti-diabetic drug are the drug of choice. But despite of giving this for the longer duration, if blood glucose level is not controlled in type 2 diabetes mellitus, the treatment will be will be switched to the insulin therapy. So in type 1 diabetes mellitus and even in the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Okay. So in type 1 diabetes mellitus and type 2 diabetes mellitus, insulin is given by the subcutaneous route. Okay, subcutaneous. Okay, some diabetic emergency conditions are there, or we can say emergency diabetic conditions are there. Some emergency diabetic conditions are there, like diabetic ketoacidosis and the hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Okay, what is the diabetic ketoacidosis? So diabetic ketoacidosis is the complication of the type 1 diabetes mellitus. It's a complication of the type 1 diabetes mellitus. So what happened in type 1 diabetes complication of the type 1 diabetes mellitus, like the diabetic ketoacidosis? The clinical features are the hallmark features for the diabetic ketoacidosis. The plasma glucose level is highly elevated, more than 250 to 500 milligram per deciliter, or even more than the 500 milligram per deciliter. Okay, and the second thing is this ketone bodies are present in the plasma. And the ketone bodies are present in the urea, in the urine. These are the hallmark features for the type 1 diabetes mellitus. Okay, why the ketone bodies are present? So we know that the in type 1 diabetes mellitus, pancreatic beta cell destruction. So if the insulin therapy is not sufficient, the complications of plasma glucose level will be elevated. So why the ketone bodies are formed? Because insulin also inhibits the formation of the insulin. The physiological effect of the insulin is also the inhibition of the formation of the ketone bodies from the ketone bodies from the amino acids and the fatty acids. Okay, but if the insulin deficiency will be there, what will happen? If there is an insulin deficiency, there will be not the inhibition of the ketogenesis. So there will be the enhancement of the ketogenesis that will lead to the plasma ketone bodies elevation. That's called the ketoacidosis, and the ketouria, and also the ketouria, that is the excessive presence of ketone bodies are present in the urine. So these are the hallmark feature of the diabetic ketoacidosis. And the treatment of the diabetic ketoacidosis is the insulin therapy. But here the insulin therapy is given by the intravenous infusion. Okay. Second is the hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Okay. That is also called the non-ketotic hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Okay, that is the complication of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. This one is the complication of the type 1 diabetes mellitus. Okay, the detail for them. Just it's type 2 diabetes mellitus complication is the hyperosmolar non-ketotic hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state. Here also the plasma glucose level is more than the 250 to 500 milligram per deciliter. But here the ketone bodies are not present in the plasma as well as in the urine. So that is only the hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state consistency. So here this is the complication of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Here also the insulin is given by the intravenous infusion, not by the subcutaneous but the intravenous infusion route. Okay, and the diabetes during the pregnancy. Okay, diabetes during the pregnancy. If the diabetes is there during the pregnancy, despite the patient is a type 1, if the type 1 diabetes, if the pregnant woman is the type 1 diabetes mellitus, then the insulin is the therapy we know. If the patient is also having the type 2 diabetes mellitus, if pregnant mother is also having the type 2 diabetes mellitus, that is also the insulin therapy should be given there because of the teratogenic effects of the oral hypoglycemic agent. Okay, that is the reason. Okay, and also the insulin, the molecular size of the insulin is larger, so they do not cross the blood placental barrier. So that is a diabetic during pregnancy. Okay, subcutaneous route pathogen and the hyperkalemia. Other than the diabetic conditions, this all the type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, diabetic ketoacidosis, hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, and the diabetic during pregnancy. These are the diabetic conditions. But other than the diabetic, insulin is also given for the treatment of the hyperkalemia. So what is the hyperkalemia? Hyperkalemia is the when the blood potassium level is more than the normal level, basically more than the 5.5 milliequivalent per liter of the 5 milliequivalent per liter of the blood, 5.5 milliequivalent per liter of the blood. So that is considered as the hyperkalemia. Okay. So what is the role of the insulin in the hyperkalemia? We know that the potassium is the intracellular component. That is, it is present within the intercellular element or the component that is present within the cell, which is the sodium is the extracellular component. It is present in the plasma. It is present in the plasma. Okay, or the interstitial tissues. Okay, so what happened in the hyperkalemia? In hyperkalemia, excessive level of the potassium is present in the extracellular compartment, that is the interstitial tissues and the plasma. So when the insulin is given, insulin also controls the metabolic acidosis that occurs during the hyperkalemia by inhibiting the ketogenesis, and it also shifts the potassium inside the cell. It also shifts the potassium inside the cell. So it reduces the excessive level of the potassium present in the plasma. So this is the reason the insulin is given for the treatment of the hyperkalemia. So indications, these are the indications of the insulin: type 1 diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus, diabetic ketoacidosis, non-ketotic hyperosmolar hyperglycemic state, diabetes during the pregnancy, and the hyperkalemia. Okay. Now complications of the insulin, or we can say the adverse drug reactions of the insulin. Okay. So insulin, so hyperglycemia, we know that when the plasma glucose level is more than the normal, that's called the hyperglycemia. But if the insulin is given, if patient is on the insulin, So one of the important complication or the or we can hyper or we can say the adverse drug reaction or the complication also, that is the hypoglycemia. So what is the hypoglycemia? When the plasma glucose level is below the normal range, basically below the in diabetic patient, if it is also below the 60 milligram per deciliter, uh, that could be considered as the hypoglycemia. In non-diabetic patient, normal altitude is less than the 50 milligram per deciliter. That is also considered as the hypoglycemia. So below the normal range, below the base, or in average, we can say the 70 to 80, something like that. That is below that. That is considered as the hypoglycemia. So why this hypoglycemia occurs? If the insulin is why when the insulin, so we know that the insulin is given along with the meal, just before the meal or immediately after the meal, to mimic the timing of the physiological bolus insulin secretion and to mimic the timing of the physiological basal insulin secretion. Suppose if the patient and the other thing, the other important thing we have to consider while giving the insulin is the dose of the insulin. Dose of the insulin. It is adjusted with the amount of the meal is taken. It's adjusted with the amount of the meal is taken. If the suppose if insulin is taken, if the insulin is taken, and the patient forget to take the meal, patient forget to take the meal, that leads to that is the major trigger factor or that's the major cause for the occurrence of the hypoglycemia. Other causes are also there, like if the severe infection is present along with the diabetes mellitus and the patient is on the insulin therapy, if the excessive exercise has been done, okay, that also leads to the in the diabetic patient, that also leads to the hypoglycemia. But the important cause or the risk factor, we can say that the cause for the hypoglycemia is the patient on the diabetic patient on the insulin. After taking the insulin, if he or she forget to take the meal or miss the meal, that is the major cause for the development of the hypoglycemia. Okay, what will happen? This is the most common. If someone asks you the question, what is the most common adverse drug reaction of the insulin? That is the hypoglycemia. You have to say positive. It's very simple to understand. Okay, so what happened if the hypoglycemia occurs? So hypoglycemia, when the hypoglycemia occurs, plasma glucose level is below the normal range, below the 50 range, below the 40. So what will happen? Immediately the body compensatory mechanism occurs in the body. Compensatory mechanism. What are the compensatory mechanisms? The compensatory mechanisms are there are the two compensatory mechanisms. Number one is the compensatory mechanism. The body tries to increase the blood glucose level. That's called the compensatory mechanism. So what are the compensatory mechanisms? Number one is the release of the glucagon from the alpha cells of the islets of the Langerhans. Release of the glucagon from the alpha cells of the islets of the Langerhans. So that glucagon, what is the role of the glucagon? The role of the glucagon is to increase the gluconeogenesis or to increase the glycogenolysis in the liver. To increase the gluconeogenesis in the liver or to increase the glycogenolysis in the liver. So that increases the level, that increases the secretion of the increased production of the glucose. Increased production of the glucose from the gluconeogenesis and from the glycogenolysis, that tries to increase the level of the plasma glucose level. That increase the level of the plasma glucose. That is one compensating mechanism. Second compensating mechanism is the secretion of the catecholamines. What are the catecholamines? Epinephrine and the norepinephrine. So when the epinephrine and the norepinephrine will be increased, what will happen? The epinephrine will act on the beta 1 receptors present of the liver. So that increases the gluconeogenesis. That increases the gluconeogenesis. Okay. But what will happen? And the third compensatory mechanism is the secretion of the cortisol. Secretion of the cortisol. So what will cortisol will do? The cortisol will increases the level of the plasma glucose level. By increasing the gluconeogenesis present in the liver. These are the compensatory mechanisms. So what happens when the compensatory mechanism will be there? When the compensatory mechanism will be there, they are responsible for the development of the clinical features of the hypoglycemia. What are the clinical features of the hypoglycemia? One are the adrenergic symptoms, and the second is the central nervous system. Okay, why the adrenergic symptoms? Adrenergic symptoms because when hypoglycemia will be there will be the compensatory mechanism, that is the release of that will be the release of the catecholamines, right? The adrenaline and the noradrenaline. When the adrenaline will be there, the adrenaline will increases the sympathetic activities. Sympathetic activity. What are the sympathetic activity? They are the tachycardia, they are the palpitation, sweating. Okay, these are the sympathetic activities. So, what are the clinical features of the hypoglycemia? The clinical features of the hypoglycemia is the this tachycardia, palpitation, sweating. These are the clinical features of the increased blood pressure. These are the clinical features of the hypoglycemia, adrenergic features, and also the central nervous system symptoms will be there, or sign symptoms will be there. They are like the confusion, even the increased feeling of the hunger, confusion, okay, and sometimes the loss of the consciousness. That is called the coma. These are the central nervous systems of the hypoglycemia. So what is the treatment of the hypoglycemia? The treatment of the hypoglycemia, we need to give the glucose if the patient is conscious. So 4 spoon of the glucose. You know the glucose is available, or even the sugar is also one kind of the glucose. If the sugar is available, or if the glucose is available, so 4 spoon of the glucose that should be immediately dissolved with the water, and patient is asked to drink the glucose dissolved water, so that increases the level of the plasma glucose level. If the patient is admitted to the hospital, so this glucose preparations are present. These are the 50 ml of the 25% dextrose and the 50 ml of the 50% dextrose are available. That can be given by the intravenous route. Okay. And the other advice that should be given to the diabetic patient is always, who is on the insulin therapy, is always asked to carry the chocolate. Do you know the chocolate? Dairy milk chocolate, especially the dairy milk chocolate, that is that can be easily dissolved in the mouth. That can be easily dissolved in the mouth. That is a dairy milk chocolate. So immediately, patient should be advised that if sometimes if you feel excessive sweating, tachycardia, immediately immediately take that chocolate into the mouth, and that will increases the plasma glucose level. Okay, so this is the complication of the hypoglycemia. Okay, lipodystrophy. There are also the other adverse drug reaction like the lipodystrophy at the site of the injection. They are the atrophy or the hypertrophy of the subcutaneous tissue. If the injection is given repeatedly, that is not because of the insulin. Insulin also, if the injection of the insulin is given repeatedly at the site of the injection, that produces the atrophy or the hypertrophy of the subcutaneous tissue. These are the allergic reactions. Okay, at the site of the injection, allergic reaction at the site of the injection, that is a rare, and that is a high immunoglobulin E mediated. Okay, hypersensitivity reaction, immunoglobulin E mediated hypersensitivity reaction. Okay, type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, and even the insulin resistance, that is also the rare. Okay, that is not important, just remember the name of the insulin resistance. The most important complication, when they are asked the question, what is the important complication of the insulin, that is the hypoglycemia. You have to answer the hypoglycemia at least. If you are not able to answer other, you have to answer the hypoglycemia, and you have to also answer the what are the treatment of the hypoglycemia. The treatment of the hypoglycemia is that we need to give the dextrose or the glucose. Okay, and the other rare or the minimal adverse drug reactions are the lipodystrophy and the allergic reactions and the insulin resistance. Okay. Okay. Last slide from the insulin. Okay, drug interactions. What are the drug interactions of the insulin? Okay, number one is the beta blockers. If the patient, when the beta blockers, if the patient is a diabetic, type 1 diabetic, okay, and also if the patient is having the ischemic heart disease or congestive cardiac failure or the hypertension, that means the patient is on the beta blocker therapy. So what could be the drug interactions? So we know that the insulin, so it can prolong the hypoglycemia. It not prolongs the hypoglycemia. It is like that. When the patient is on the insulin therapy and also on the beta blockers, okay, if you suddenly develop the hypoglycemia, suppose hypoglycemia, that is the plasma glucose level is not aware by the sign. So sign and symptoms of the sign and symptoms of the this hypoglycemia, adrenergic sign and symptoms of the hypoglycemia will be maxed. That will not be appear. Why? Because the patient is also on the beta 2 blocker. So when insulin therapy is there, if the patient miss the meal, develop the hypoglycemia, but and the plasma glucose level is below the normal, is develop the hypoglycemia, but patient will not recognize, or the doctor will not recognize that the hypoglycemia has the symptoms of the hypoglycemia has been developed, because sign and symptoms of the this hypoglycemia will be masked, because patient is also on the beta 2 blockers. So what is the beta 2 blocker? The beta 2 blockers will bind to the beta 1 receptors present in the cardiac heart muscles, so cardiac muscles, so that will reduces the tachycardia, that means the sympathetic activity will be reduced. Sympathetic activity will be reduced. So the hypoglycemia, signs and symptoms of the hypoglycemia will be marked. That is the major drug interaction of the insulin with the beta 2 blockers. If the patient develops the hypoglycemia. Okay. Second is the acute ingestion of the alcohol along with the when the insulin is taken, that precipitates the hypoglycemia because alcohol also depleted the reduces the hepatic glycogenolysis. Also, we know that the insulin reduces the hepatic glycogenolysis, reduces the gluconeogenesis. Along with that, the acute ingestion of the alcohol also reduces the hepatic glycogenolysis that may precipitate to the hypoglycemia. Okay, so number one interaction of the beta 2 blocker with the insulin is the sign and symptoms of the insulin, with the patient of the insulin. If he develops the hypoglycemia, the adrenergic sign and symptoms of the hypoglycemia will be masked. That will not appear. That will not be appeared. Okay, it is because of the beta 2 blockers, because that inhibits the sympathetic activity. Okay, so that prolongs the hypoglycemia. Okay, and the second is the acute ingestion of the alcohol along with the insulin, that inhibits the hepatic glycogenolysis because both of them inhibits the hepatic glycogenolysis that reduces the plasma glucose level, that also precipitates the hypoglycemia. Okay, these are the major drug interaction of the insulin, the beta 2 blockers and the alcohol. Okay. That is all. That is all about the insulin. Okay. Now this will be the last topic. Oral hypoglycemic drugs. So I will try to cover this topic, some part of this topic today, and the remaining part of the topic, I think, on the Thursday. Okay, on the Thursday, and that will be the last part of the endocrine system from my side, and then the Kamal sir. Kamal sir will start the, I think, one part of the endocrine system. One topic from the endocrine system is the thyroid or anti-thyroid drug is there. That will be taken by the Kamal sir, and the reproductive system will also taken by the Kamal sir and the Kyushu madam, Dr. Kyushu Shah. She will take that. She will take the reproductive system. And again, I will be back from the central nervous system. I will take this because I did not take till now. I did not take any classes from the first year. So I will. So we have discussed that all faculty. What we have decided that I will cover the one system from the respiratory system, and then I will be back to the central nervous system. Okay. Oral hypoglycemic drugs. Okay. Now, what is the oral hypoglycemic drugs? Okay. The drugs which are given. Okay. Basically, two terms are there: oral hypoglycemic drugs and the anti-diabetic drugs. Oral hypoglycemic drugs and the anti-diabetic drugs. So what is oral hypoglycemic drugs? Okay. Oral hypoglycemic drugs that reduces the plasma glucose level, that controls the that reduces the hyperglycemia, and they also produces the hypoglycemia. They are the oral hypoglycemic drugs. Okay, and one drug is there that's called the anti-diabetic drugs, oral anti-diabetic drugs. They also controls the they also reduces the hyperglycemia, but they never produces the hypoglycemia. That's called the oral anti-diabetic. So which drugs are the oral hypoglycemic? Which drugs are the anti-diabetic drugs? That we will discuss in the coming slides. Okay, so oral hypoglycemic drugs. So what are the oral hypoglycemic drugs? Okay, introduction. These drugs are orally administered drugs in the diabetes mellitus. Insulin is given by the parenteral route, but the oral hypoglycemic drugs or the anti-diabetic drugs, they are given by the oral route. They are used in the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Why it is used in the type 2 diabetes mellitus? We have already discussed about that. Okay, because type 2 diabetes mellitus is due to the relative deficiency of the insulin. That is the insulin resistance is the pathophysiology, because insulin is secreted from the pancreatic beta cells, but they are not responsive to their peripheral tissues. That is the pathophysiology of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. So the oral hypoglycemic drugs or the anti-diabetic drugs, they are always used for the treatment of the type 2 diabetes mellitus. That is the main thing, and they are always given by the oral route. Okay. Now the number one drug is the sulfonylureas. Okay, that is also called the insulin secretogogues. Why they are called the insulin secretogogues? Because these drugs enhance the secretion of the insulin from the pancreatic beta cells. These drugs enhance the secretion of the insulin from the pancreatic beta cells. Okay, that is the reason they are called the insulin secretogogues. secretagogus. Insulin secretagogus. Okay, there are two drugs: first generation and the second generation. The first generation drugs are the chlorpropamide and the tolbutamide, and the second generation drugs are the glibenclamide, glimepiride, glipizide, and the gliclazide. Nowadays, second generation drugs, they are the most commonly used rather than the first generation drugs, because this sulfonylureas, they produces the hypoglycemia. Okay, but first generation drugs, they are more their duration of action is prolonged, and also they are more potent, they are more toxic in terms of the hypoglycemia, in terms of the producing the hypoglycemia. Where the second generation drugs, their duration action is short, and they also produces the uh, they are the low toxic. Related to the production of the hypoglycemia. That is the reason second generation drugs, they are better. They are commonly used comparing to the first generation drugs. So this is the sulfonylureas. Okay, I think everything is clear here. So what is the mechanism of action? Okay, mechanism of action. Yes, my. What is the mechanism of action? So we have discussed about this. I think this picture, this figure, this is a diagram, schematic picture or a diagram for the mechanism of the insulin secretion from the pancreatic beta cell. So what is the role of the sulfonylureas? The role of the sulfonylureas is they enhance the blocking of the ATP sensitive potassium channel. They enhance the blocking of the ATP sensitive potassium channel. So this one is the pancreatic beta cells schematic diagram inside the cells, and this one is the cell membrane, and this one is the potassium channel which are present over the membrane of the cell membrane of the pancreatic beta cell. So sulfonylurea drug, they blocks the opening of the pancreatic beta cell. That is the potassium channel of the pancreatic beta. That is, they blocks the potassium channels which are present over the cell membrane of the pancreatic beta cell. When the potassium channel will be blocked, what will happen? There will be the persistent depolarization. When persistent depolarization of the pancreatic beta cells will be there will be the opening of the calcium voltage-gated calcium channels. The influx of the calcium will be there. This influx of the calcium will be responsible for the exocytosis of the insulin into the circulation. So that will bind to there. Now the insulin will bind to the respective receptors. Now insulin shows their mechanism of action, and that reduces the effect of the insulin will be there. That is the reduction of the inhibition of the hepatic gluconeogenesis, glycogenolysis. Okay, increase uptake of the protein, glucose by the protein, increase uptake of the glucose by the adipose tissues. So what will happen? That reduces the plasma glucose level. This is the major. This is the major indications. So major mechanism of action of the this sulfonylureas. Okay. Other than that, they also reduces the hepatic gluconeogenesis directly, and they also increases the peripheral utilization of the glucose. That also increases the peripheral utilization of the glucose. But the main mechanism of action is they bind to the potassium channel of the pancreatic beta cells, blocks the pancreatic beta cells. Okay, so that causes the persistent depolarization of the pancreatic beta cells. That will lead to the opening of the voltage-gated calcium channel. So that will lead to the exocytosis of the insulin into the circulation. Now insulin will further, that we have discussed in the previous topics also, insulin will show their mechanism of action. So that controls the hyperglycemia. Okay. Also now, other than that, other mechanism of action directly reduces the hepatic gluconeogenesis, and it also increases the peripheral utilization of the glucose. This is the main mechanism of action. These are the main mechanism of action of the. Okay. Pharmacokinetics, orally well absorbed. Okay, these drugs are orally well. 90% or more of the drugs binds to the plasma protein. 90% or the more of the drugs binds to the plasma protein. Okay, I think no need to explain anything here. Everything is clear there. Low volume of distribution, metabolism by the liver, and excretion by the liver or the kidney. Okay, important thing here is the orally well absorbed, or the 90% of the drugs binds to the plasma protein, and it is excreted by the liver or the kidney. These are the pharmacokinetics. Okay. Indications: type 2 diabetes mellitus in the non-obese patient. Basically, type 2 diabetes mellitus is associated with the obesity. Okay, but sometimes the patient are also there with the type 2 diabetes. They have the normal. They are having a normal build. Okay, so this type 2 diabetes mellitus in the non-obese patient, because sulfonylureas also causes the weight gain. How it causes the weight gain? Because sulfonylureas increases the level of the insulin. Now, insulin causes the intermediary metabolism. That is, this insulin sulfonylureas, they are the insulin secretogogues. They increases the release of the insulin from the pancreatic beta cells. So what will happen? The insulin causes the excessive uptake of the glucose by the excessive protein uptake, excessive glucose uptake by the protein, this muscle tissues, excessive enhance the triglyceride uptake. It also enhance the glucose uptake by the adipose tissue. So that will lead to the weight gain. That is the reason it should be, if it is given in the obese patient, it also increases the obesity of the patient. No? So that is the reason the insulin should be given in the type 2 diabetes mellitus in the non-obese patient. Okay, non-obese patient, not in the obese patient, basically in the non-obese patient. This drug is given for the obese patient. We will discuss about that in the coming slide. Okay. Okay. Indications of the sulfonylureas, type 2 diabetes mellitus in the non-obese patient. Why in the non-obese patient? Because type 2 diabetes, because this sulfonylureas is the insulin secretogogues drugs. So they sulfonylureas drugs, they increases the insulin secretion from the pancreatic beta cells. Now, so what is the effect of the insulin? The effect of the insulin is also the intermediary metabolism, like enhance the glycose, sometimes enhance the glycosenolysis, sometimes increase uptake of the glucose by the muscle, increase uptake of the glucose by the adipose tissue, increase triglyceride secretion, increase triglyceride production, and the cholesterol production, increase this protein metabolism. That will lead to the weight gain. No, so that is the reason when the sulfonylureas is given to the obese patient, that causes the further obesity. That is the reason the type 2 diabetes mellitus, it should be given the type 2 diabetes mellitus, but in the non-obese patient. That's the indications of the sulfonylureas. Okay, adverse drug reactions. Again, hypoglycemia is the major error. So that is the reason this sulfonylureas, they are the oral hypoglycemic drugs, because they produces the hypoglycemia. Why they produces the hypoglycemia? Because they are the insulin secretogogues. The pancreatic beta cells, they causes the pancreatic secretion of the insulin from the pancreas. So each complication of the insulin is the hypoglycemia that we have already discussed. Most commonly is the hypoglycemia. In which type of the patient? Basically, if the diabetic patient, elderly patient with the diabetes, if the diabetic patient also having the liver disease, if the diabetic patient also having the renal disease. That is the reason hypoglycemia. Second is the weight gain, that we have already discussed about. That weight gain is produced by the sulfonylureas. That is the reason it should not be given in type 2 diabetes mellitus with the obese patient. It should be given in the type 2 diabetes patient with the non-obese patient. Okay. Other are the nausea and the vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. That is because of the GIT disturbances and the hypersensitivity. Really, importantly, the most common is the hypoglycemia and the weight gain. Other this weight gain and hypersensitivity, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. They are also the complication, but they are also the adverse drug reaction, but not commonly. That is okay. Important thing is the first generation having the low potency and the high toxicity. That is the reason they are rarely used. That is the reason the second generation drug like the glimepiride, gliclazide, glipizide, and glibenclamide, they are the commonly used. Okay, so these are the adverse drug reactions of the sulfonylureas. Okay, contraindications again: liver disease, renal disease, and the pregnancy. Okay, liver disease, renal disease, and the pregnancy. Because liver disease, because metabolism occurs in the liver, so liver disease must say about. If liver disease is there, renal disease is there. So metabolism is, excretion is taken by the liver, occurs in the liver. So when the liver disease will be there, renal disease will be there, and you are giving to the patient is taking the sulfonylureas, metabolism process and the excretion process will not be there. So excessive accumulation of the sulfonylureas will be there in the body. That will lead to the hypoglycemia. That is the reason liver disease and the renal disease should be contraindicated. And the pregnancy, teratogenic effect, they produces the teratogenic. They process the blood placenta barrier that causes the teratogenic effect. That is the reason insulin is drug of choice during the pregnancy. Okay, contraindication: liver disease, renal disease, and the pregnancy. Okay. Okay, drug interaction. I think this is not necessary, but also let's. I will explain in brief. Salicylates, when they are given along with the salicylates, like the aspirin, and the sulfonylureas, what will happen? we know that the 90% of the sulfonylureas they binds to the plasma protein. But when they are given along with the salicylate, when the sulfonylureas they are given along with the salicylate will increases the dissociation of the sulfonylureas from the plasma protein. So what will happen? That causes the hypoglycemia. So excessive, it increases the action of the sulfonylureas that produces the hypoglycemia. So that is the drug interaction with the salicylate. Okay. Phenytoin, phenobarbital, and rifampicin, they are the cytochrome P450 inducers. We know about that. So when the any drug is given along with the cytochrome P450 inducers, what will be there? The therapeutic effect of the co-administered drug will be reduced. So that will lead to the hyperglycemia. That will lead to the hyperglycemia. There is a drug interaction with them. These are the drug interaction of the salicylates with the sulfonylureas and the drug interaction of the phenytoin, phenobarbital, and the cytochrome P450 inducers with the sulfonylureas. Okay, this is the one drug will produce the hypoglycemia by increasing the dissociation of the sulfonylureas from the plasma protein. So that increases the action of the sulfonylureas that causes the hypoglycemia. And the other drugs they reduces the therapeutic effect of the sulfonylureas that produces the hyperglycemia. This is the drug interaction. Okay, glenites they are also called the insulin secretogogues. Everything is similar to the sulfonylureas. Okay, glenites they are also causes the insulin secretogogues. Repaglinide and the nataglinide. Repaglinide and the nataglinide. These are the drugs. These are called the insulin secretogogues. That means they also increases the secretion of the insulin from the pancreatic beta cells. Insulin secretogogues. Okay. Mechanism of action is similar to the sulfonylureas that we have already discussed about the sulfonylureas. But the advantage about the sulfonylureas is that rapid onset of action, the shorter duration of action. Rapid onset of action or the shorter duration of action. Okay, that is the reason they are glenites as the rapid onset of action, the shorter duration of action. Okay. Now indications same. Type 2 diabetes mellitus in the non-obese patient. Same cause. Okay, type 2 diabetes mellitus in the non-obese patient. Same cause. Okay. Adverse drug reaction similar. Hypoglycemia, weight gain, and the mild headache. Okay, hypoglycemia similar but less comparing to the sulfonylureas. Okay, and the weight gain again. Why weight gain? We have already discussed about that. Weight gain. That is the reason it should not be given in the type 2 diabetes mellitus with the obesity. It should be given with the type 2 diabetes mellitus with the non-obese patient. Okay, hypoglycemia, weight gain, and the mild headache. Is that clear? Should I continue?
Yes, sir.
Everything is clear. Okay. Now let's finish this drug, and this will be over for the today. Biguanides. These are the commonly used drugs in the type 2 diabetes mellitus. Biguanides. Example: the two drugs are there: metformin and the penformin. The important drug is the metformin. The important drug is the metformin. Penformin, it is not used nowadays. It is withdrawn from the market because of the high risk of the lactic acidosis. Okay. Why lactic acidosis is associated with the biguanides? Because metformin also causes the lactic acidosis, but comparing to the penformin and the penformin, they are more to produce the lactic acid because this main action of the metformin is inhibits the hepatic gluconeogenesis. Okay, hepatic gluconeogenesis. So because of the inhibition of the hepatic gluconeogenesis, that also inhibits the lactic acid metabolism. So because of the inhibition of the lactic acid metabolism, what will be there? Excessive accumulation of the lactic acid will be there in the body that will lead to the lactic acidosis. So high risk of the lactidosis, penformin that produces the high risk of the lactidosis that is not recently used, or I think they are withdrawn from the market because of the high risk of the lactic acidosis. The biguanides two drugs are there, metformin and the penformin. Okay. Mechanism of action, very simple. They inhibits the hepatic glucose production. That means they inhibits the hepatic gluconeogenesis. They directly inhibits the hepatic gluconeogenesis. That is the main mechanism of action of the metformin biguanides. So because of that, they reduces the hepatic plasma glucose level by inhibiting the hepatic glucose production. Others are there. They also increases the peripheral utilization of the glucose. That means they increased uptake of the glucose by the muscles. They also increase glucose uptake by the adipose tissue. So increases the peripheral tissue utilization of the glucose. Okay, and decreases the intestinal absorption of the glucose. There also decreases the intestinal absorption of the glucose. Okay. So the important mechanism of action is the inhibits the hepatic gluconeogenesis, enhances the peripheral utilization of the glucose by the peripheral tissues, and enhances the intestinal absorption of the glucose. It decreases the intestinal absorption of the glucose. This is the main mechanism of action of the biguanides. Okay. Okay, pharmacokinetics, okay, very simple, orally well absorbed, orally well absorbed, okay. And the excretion through the kidney via the urine as an active compound. Excretion through the kidney via urine as an active compound. Okay, that is the important thing, orally well absorbed, excretion through the kidney via urine as an active compound. Okay, this is the pharmacokinetics, okay. Indications. Now, indications is type 2 diabetes mellitus in the obese patient. Now, important thing is here. Why this drug is commonly used? Number one is the type 2 diabetes mellitus in the obese patient. This drug would be given the type 2 diabetes mellitus in the obese patient. And the second thing is metformin never produces the hypoglycemia. Metformin never produces the hypoglycemia. It always produces the euglycemia. Euglycemia, normal plasma glucose level is called the euglycemia. They never produces the hypoglycemia, they produces the euglycemia. Okay. Sometimes the question may be raised. What is the advantages of the biguanides over the sulfonylureas or the other anti-diabetic drug? Number one cause is the biguanides, they never produces the hypoglycemia, rather they produces the euglycemia. And the second cause is it is used in the type 2 diabetes mellitus with the obese patient because they never produces the weight gain. This should be the answer for the advantages of the metformin over the other anti-diabetic drug or oral hypoglycemic agent. Other than the type 2 diabetes mellitus, it is also used for the treatment of the hyperlipidemia, but not commonly, but it may be used because they reduces the LDL level, they reduces the VLDL level, and they increases the SDL level. That means they reduces the bad cholesterol, they increases the good cholesterol, lipoprotein. No? In simple language, okay, that it can be, we can understand like that also. Okay, so indication is the type 2 diabetes mellitus in the obese patient, hyperlipidemia. They never produces the euglycemia. They always produces the euglycemia, but never produces the hypoglycemia. Okay, is that clear? Should I continue? Only 2 slides
Yes,
now.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Adverse drug reaction. The adverse drug reaction with the this biguanide is the GIT disturbances, most common, nausea, vomiting. Whenever they ask you the question, what is the adverse drug reaction of the metformin, you have to answer the nausea, vomiting. Okay, nausea, anorexia, metallic taste, and the panacetin. These are the GIT disturbances. And the lactic acidosis, that is all I have already explained earlier, especially in the renal failure patient. That is the lactic acidosis. Okay. Okay. Last slide for today now. Contraindications. Renal disease. It should be given to the renal disease or pre-existing acidosis. That is metabolic acidosis. Okay. Renal disease. It should not be given in the renal disease. Okay. Because excretion is done by the renal. Excretion is by the kidney. If renal disease will be there, excretion will be there is the obliteration. There will be the inhibition of the excretion process that will lead to the accumulation of the metformin in the body, that will lead to the lactic acidosis and pre-existing acidosis. These are the adverse drug reaction of the. These are the contraindications of the. Metformin is available. Okay. Okay. आज को attendance ठीक है sir. I will see from this बाटा गरौँ लाई